Alright, y'all, we back with another video. So today we're actually going to be doing one of the challenges, which is going to be the formidable foe. So today we are going to be showcasing on how to beat second year at Tokyo School Stream 2. So of course I'm going to be talking about the enemies, and then I'll talk about the team that I used to actually beat this. It's very, I guess, free to play. The only issue is, of course, having enough resources to actually build the characters. Right now, let's get right into the characters. Right, this team will work for all three of the stages. So like you'll have the hard, the very hard, and this one, the extreme one. So all difficulties, you can use this same exact team. So as you can see here, I have Yaga 4 buffs, I have Momo 4 buffs, I have Nanami also 4 buffs, and then I have Gojo as my main carry. My is just here just because I believe it is the second difficulty where the mission requires you to use Momo and Mai, so you can just put her on the backup end. You can put another DPS character if you want, right? If you're doing the Extreme 2 version, you don't need to have Mai, but for like the second difficulty, you need to use Mai and Momo on the same team to be able to get the 3 stars, right? Now for memories, for Yaga, his main goal here is just buffing. You don't need dupes, but dupes do help, obviously, because he'll have a little bit more stats, so he's less likely to die. Memory wise for him, the memory that we're really aiming for here is just to have any type of memory that can kind of give him some survivability. So I have this one on, which provides me, I believe, 40% damage reduction for 2 turns. So that's the reason why we're using this one. Just use whatever memory you have that can provide him some reduction and level it up a little bit, so that way you have some stats from it. Next up is Momo's memory. So again, this is just a memory to give her survivability, because if she dies, then the run is practically over. So this one is the free one that we do get from doing the, you know, missions and events. So as you can see, I have 3 dupes in it. So everybody should have 3 dupes by now, just because it's free to play and you just do your beginner missions to obtain it. We have it because it can give us some HP, but the main reason why we have it is at the battle start, we receive 20% damage taken decrease to self. So this will give her some survivability. You probably won't ever use the memory skill. By the time you actually need it, the fight should be over. Now for Nanami, we have Sukuna's Vessel. The reason why we have Sukuna's Vessel is, again, we want survivability. We're not really going for anything crazy except survivability. This provides damage decrease to all allies for 2 turns. So you'll have that damage reduction for 2 turns, so that way your team can live. On top of that, we do have the passive, which does allow us to resurrect. Keep in mind, you have to have a dupe in it. You don't necessarily need it. You can still do it by, you know, kind of like refreshing and retrying a couple times, so that way Nanami doesn't die. So you don't necessarily need to dupe, but if you have it, obviously it's going to help you in the long run. Now for Gojo, Gojo's a little bit different. So there's a couple different options. In my case, I had to use this memory, but if you have non-standard, which is his hollow purple memory, if you use that, you can use that over this one. The reason why we're using this is just mainly so that way we can get our ultimate gauge. As you can see, it gives us 250, but you could use the hollow purple Gojo memory, and that will also give you 200 ultimate gauge, right, on the start of wave. So yeah, we only use this one time anyways throughout the entire fight. You might get to it at the end, but you're not going to need it by then. By then you should have it already charged up, and 1 ult is literally all you need. So yeah, that's basically the team setup. So, you know, 3 buffers, our carry, and then we're gonna have 3 memories for survivability for our 3 buffers, and then we're gonna have 1 memory to charge our ultimate gauge, and then that's gonna be the setup for the entire team. Now, level wise, I do recommend having these characters at least, if possible, to have dupes. If you do not have dupes, try to compensate over the fact that you don't have dupes with levels. So try to level up your character as much as possible. I know that's going to be a hard task for a lot of players because they just started, but keep in mind, this is Extreme version 2. You can take your time. It's not going anywhere. It's permanent, so you can do it eventually, right? This is mainly just so you know how to do it, and in the future when you do have access to these units, then you are going to be able to complete it. There's other teams as well, like using Rare Inumaki as well, who can, you know, charge your team's gauge, and then using Kaido to give survivability. But this is the team that we're going to be using to actually showcase how to do it, right? So without further ado, we're going to get right into it. All right, so we're here in the fight. So one thing I do want to note before we actually get into how to do it. So I did mention earlier in the video that you can use Living a Long Life memory on Gojo, but one thing I did forgot to mention is if you have beat the earlier stages like EX1 and then just the hard difficulty version, you'll have the memory that you obtain from this actual mission, this challenge, which is actually a better option than living a long life, right? But living a long life, you can use that if you haven't beat it yet, right? Like if you haven't beat it once and got this memory. This memory is practically the same usage, except, you know, you'll get 360 ultimate gauge for self rather than getting like 200-ish from the living a long life, which means you will save yourself a turn in the end. Where I kind of miss out on the turn, and that keeps me from getting a 3-star, right? So we'll get right into it. So the first turn, we're just gonna do normal attacks. The reason for this is these two guys, they kind of buff and they don't do anything, while Maki, she does do a cleave AoE to everybody, which she is gonna be the most troublesome enemy in this entire fight. Here we're gonna use the memory straight away along with our buff. So keep in mind, this team is going to take a little bit of RNG as well when you're trying to beat this, because, you know, if she cleaves and then these two guys go ham at somebody, like one singular person, then they're going to die and then the run is over, and then you got to go at it again to make sure that you can 3-star it. So here, what we're going to do is we're going to buff with Yaga. This is going to be one of the RNG points where you want to make sure that Momo at least stuns 2 of these people, with one of them being at least Maki. So if she doesn't stun Maki, the run is practically over. We'll buff here, and we'll buff here. So unfortunately, as you can see, I didn't get the stun, so we're gonna rerun it back, and I'll see you when we actually get better odds. Alright, so we're back. So this time we managed to get the stun on Maki. So the previous turn where we did all the buffs, as you can see, I already still have the skills placed right here on the bottom where, you know, Yaga, Momo, Nanami, and Gojo are at. That's the skills I used last turn, and this time I kept, you know, refreshing until I actually got the stun on Maki. So here we managed to avoid the damage that was literally going to be lethal. So now we're good. Now we're on our 3rd turn. So now with the 3rd turn, we are going to be using the memory and buffing with Yaga. We're going to be buffing with Momo here. Then we're going to be using the memory from Nanami and buffing as well. And then we're going to buff one more time with Gojo. Then the preceding turn, we should be able to nuke the entire stage. If we're lucky and they don't all target Momo, we should be able to beat this 3-star without dying. Right, so he's going to be buffing. And look, it looks like we're good. So as you can see, nobody's dead. We're going to buff one more time with our characters. Just in case, we'll use a buff here, the memory with Momo, but you don't need it. The buff, and yeah, we'll now nuke with Gojo, and everybody should be dead here. In fact, we should break them as well in case they do live. Jujutsu Hanken. Akan. And as you can see, Maki and the doll died, and all that's left is Panda, so you already know what time it is. It's time to go to town and cook this man. And he should be dead. Boom. Easy, just like that. So yeah, first turn, you just stall and make sure you use the memory with Gojo. Second turn, you start buffing with Yaga, Nanami, and then you stun with Momo, and you buff again with Gojo. Then on the 3rd turn, you use the memory with Yaga's buff. And then you use the buff with Momo, and then you use the buff and memory with Nanami again, and then you buff with Gojo once more, and then you pray that nobody gets hit. If they don't get hit, you're good. You go into turn 4, and you buff with everybody, and you use Gojo's ult, and that's it. Everybody should be dead, and all you got to do is just, you know, flick that man one time the preceding turn with Gojo, or just attack him, bro, until he's dead, because, I mean, he's going to have 2 turns where he's in his break status, and that's basically how you beat Panda EX2. It's very easy, very simple. The team, you know, that you saw there is what I used. There's obviously other teams, like I said earlier, where you can use Inumaki and Kaito to actually offset it and get your ult quick and then actually do damage and kill everybody and break them. But we decided to opt out with this team because, I mean, most people are going to be investing into Yaga and Nanami already. So I kind of feel like, all right, well, all you really have to invest into now is just Momo, right? Because you've already have Gojo as your main carry. Everybody should. I'll just go back into my team one more time and just kind of show you what my skill levels are, since I forgot to mention earlier. So the only thing we've invested into, or that needs to be invested into here, is a little bit into Yaga. You can get by with maybe level 4 or 5, right? Like it doesn't give a substantial amount. The increase is only by 2%, so you should be even fine at level 1, but I recommend getting at least level 4. Momo, she does not need any skill level ups, but I did level up into the stun for that second turn where we want to try to stun. This makes it so I don't have to keep refreshing so often, and I'll have a higher chance, right, to actually get the stun. This is just mainly for my sanity. You don't really have to upgrade or invest anything into her skills at all. Then for Nanami, obviously we're going to be buffing his buff skill. So we're going to level this up, obviously, because it's going to do a lot. You can get by with like level 3 or 4, like I said previously, with his skill levels. That's it. You don't have to invest into anything else. And then for Gojo, you are going to be investing into his ult and his normal attack 1. If you can at least get the ult to level 5 or 6, you're good. And then, like I said, she's literally just there purely for the stage 2, the difficulty 2, so that way you can get the 3-star. You can just put any other DPS character if you think you can't beat it with these 4, right? You might not get 3 stars, but at least you'll still be able to beat it, right? And that's the most important part. But yeah, other than that, that's basically going to be how you beat Panda EX2. Free to play style. Obviously, you're going to have to use a lot of investment in getting your character levels up and your memories. But once you do manage to get that, you will be able to beat it. So I appreciate you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.